Welcome to Ponytails and Pep Talks, the podcast where blowouts, breakdowns, and breakthroughs are a weekly discussion. I'm your host, Regina. For over 3 decades, I've been behind the salon chair as a stylist, an owner, and yes, your favorite unlicensed therapist. I have heard it all. The tears, the triumphs, the you won't believe what just happened stories from courageous women overcoming incredible obstacles. So let's meet one of them right now on Ponytails and Pep Talks. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Ponytails and Pep Talks, where we talk about the real stuff, the messy stuff, and even the stuff that can really change your life. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Regina. Today, we're having a conversation that every woman needs, but we don't always say out loud. And that conversation is money. Money. We either hate it or we love it. We desperately want more of it, that's for sure. Today's guest is a financial advisor dedicated to helping women succeed. Please tell the listeners who you are and a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Regina. This is such a treat. My name is Jocelyn Cates. As you mentioned, I'm a financial advisor as well as a certified financial planner. I live in San Antonio. I have 2 kids. I'm 44 years old. So I feel kind of strange to say I've been in this for 24 years. So I started when I was
Of
about 10.
course.
So yeah, I'm just thrilled to be here.
I am grateful that you're here. I'm excited about what you have to share. We'll talk later, but I missed one of your classes that I had planned on, coming to. But I really appreciate this. I know the information that you're about to give us is going to be so incredibly helpful. So
Mhm.
tell us, what made you choose this profession,
Oh
especially
my
at such a
goodness.
young age? Yeah.
I know, it's crazy. So my original thought process when I was a very wise year old is I wanted to have my own business. I'm actually very creative and I like to do things, I don't know, just like I felt like I had this creative gift. And so I thought I wanted to do advertising. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, I need to learn how to run my business if I want to do that. So I decided to go to college and go into business administration. And then once I was there, I took a stock analysis class and I just completely fell
Mm.
in love with it. It completely turned my life inside out. That's all I could think about. So I changed my major to finance and just to make sure I was on the right path, if you will. You know, you hear all these horror stories where you get a degree in something and then you never really actually use it or you hate it.
That's right.
So I started putting feelers out there. And at that time, I think I was 19 or 20. I wanted some real world experience. So I was very fortunate to get a job as an assistant at a broker dealer, ironically, the same one I'm with now. That was a long time ago.
Oh.
And it just reiterated the idea that this is exactly what I wanted to do.
I love that. And I will have to tell you, I took a little bit of college and took some classes, and I can tell you now, I ran as far away from that as I thought I could because it was accounting, and none of those numbers made sense. Didn't know how to balance that checkbook. Didn't care, if it was $2 off here or $20 off here, that's okay. So I actually ended up working as a bank teller for over 3 years. So I still ended up in some type of finance anyway, but
Hmm.
not anything like you. I'm still scared of numbers. I'm scared of all of that. So I love that you love it. That's wonderful.
I didn't know anything about you. That's fun.
No, yeah. Yeah, we actually haven't talked that much. So we do have
No.
a lot to learn about each other today. Now, did you grow up in San Antonio?
No, actually, I grew up in El Paso. I lived there. I was born and raised there, went to university there. I moved to San Antonio in 2008, and I've been here ever
Okay.
since then. Yeah.
So a long time still. Yeah. So Texas girl.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, El Paso does seem like the stepchild of Texas, but Texas nonetheless.
Yes, yes. So let's get a little bit more personal here. Why? Because there is a place where your passion stemmed from, and what were those things that brought you specifically to help women succeed?
Oh, great question. So I'm going to answer that. It's going to be a little bit long-winded, but I think it's
That's fine.
important to know the background. So I was raised by a single mother. I am a first generation Mexican American. My mom at that time was working at a convenience store. So
Hmm.
she worked nights. I didn't see her very often, definitely didn't have any kind of financial background. And something that struck with me as a very young person, I remember I was in high school, they pull you aside and say, hey, we need to start thinking about college. Go home and talk to your parents about how much they save for college. So I did that. And the reality was bleak. She said, I'm sorry to inform you, there's nothing. I couldn't. And I remember that moment very vividly because I felt almost like like I wasn't important enough to plan for that. I felt almost like I wasn't really being set up for that kind of career path or life path, if you will. So I kind of
Hmm.
tucked that back into my subconscious, I think. And as I got older, I used to listen to Susie Orman a lot. I don't know if you know who she
Oh,
is or if
I do
anybody
know.
listening
Yes.
does. But, I mean, I knew what a college savings 529 plan was before I even was married and had kids. So, I think it just started this journey of personal finance, and I wanted to make sure that whenever I had kids, I
Hmm.
would not make them feel the way I felt. And so, fast forward, that was like career path, but I am 3 times divorced, which I know that sounds like a lot, and I swear I'm not like a crazy person. I just bad guys to marry, unfortunately, and my friends joke I'm like a Hispanic Elizabeth Taylor. What really got me to this point in my life is I want women to not only feel empowered about what they have, but to understand it and to be in relationships because they want to, not because they have to. I just
Absolutely.
feel like that is the engine to my mission statement, if you will. I've
Hmm.
met women where they're very happily married. They've been married for a long time. And I'm thinking, that's fantastic. Great. But do you know what you and your husband have? What happens if your husband passes away? Is that
Yeah.
enough? And so going back to something you said earlier, I do a lot of educational classes just so that women understand what is XYZ because it
Hmm.
can be very intimidating. And in my experience, this is a very male dominated industry. And
Yes.
sometimes men explain things in a way women don't really understand or it resonates.
Right.
So that, yeah, that's a little bit of my background and my why, if you will.
So, and thank you so much for sharing, some of your personal story, because being vulnerable where everyone can hear is something that's really difficult. I myself came from a background that I was actually the first person in my immediate family to even graduate high school. So
Mhm,
definitely the thought of college was, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Same
mhm.
thing. I mean, here you came from this side of Texas, I came from east side of Texas, almost all the way to Louisiana. But same story in life, kind of a poverty area, not some big industry area that's doing great and choices limited.
Mhm.
So I know that feeling of not feeling good enough. If we even dove into that just a little bit, some of that kind of goes into why we choose relationships that we choose, you know.
Girl,
So
I've learned that the hard way. There's been a lot of therapy, a lot of conversations about what your self worth and your value. That's a whole other conversation. But yes, I agree with you.
it completely is. So, money is super personal and actually almost somewhat embarrassing. Like if I stepped into your office and I was there and, you're asking me, well, what have you got here? What have you got there? What have you got? And I'm like, oh my God, I have credit cards. I have this. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't, So to be vulnerable for women, even to walk into your office, gosh, how do we get past that fear? What would you say?
That's a great point. I sometimes use the analogy that finances are kind of like when you're going to your doctor and you have to get on
Yeah.
that scale and you just don't want to, you're embarrassed and you just want to
Yeah.
procrastinate. Absolutely. But sometimes you have to understand, okay, where do I want to be in the future
Hmm.
and what's the best way to get there? I'm a big proponent of behavioral finance. What that means is what is your emotional attachment or detachment to money? So
Hmm.
prefer to know more of the emotional part about my clients first, like how did they come into this money or why is not? what did their parents do? What was their first memory of money? Because that's very telling for me. I know what I'm kind of working with. For women, especially, women usually look at money in a very different way than men. They're more emotional.
Yes.
They need more of a
Mm.
safety component. They want to know, am I going to run out of money? Am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
I don't want someone to have to take care of me. And so I'll kind of start with that. And then instead of it feeling like an interrogation of like, tell me everything you have, we just go into little by little. Like, hey, it's also an education process. Like, for example,
Hmm.
how much do you have in savings? That's a very forward question to ask someone because it could be
It
nothing,
is.
right?
Right.
But then I'll go
Absolutely.
into the importance of normally a good rule of thumb is to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a savings. And here's why. And so sometimes those appointments are very easy and maybe just need one
Hmm.
time, or sometimes we need to have a series of appointments just to make sure we get through everything we need to.
Right. So you can get started.
Hmm.
I love that you go at it at at the emotional point. For one, women, we are emotional. Two, I read this incredible book called You're a Badass with Money. It's this lady that does this whole series. And she talked about the emotionalness or how you felt as a child about money, what your household felt about money, because that definitely relates to how you feel about it now. You know, I can
Absolutely.
tell you I had some pretty negative things about money also. And it
Hmm.
wasn't let's keep up with it and put it in a bank account. It was like, well, you just work, you work, you work, you work, and you just work until you die. And as long as your bills are paid, you're okay. I definitely
Hmm.
see that as a much different way now. Definitely at a place too. I was married almost 40 years and I'm now 4 years divorced. And I went from living at home to being married to now own my own at nearly 60 years old and having to fend for myself now completely for myself. And it's
Hmm.
a different place. So I know when women come to you, you've got the ones that are hopefully the young ones coming in to learn what they can do, the
Hmm.
ones that are married and go, okay, I want to know more about finance. And then the ones that are divorced, the ones raising children. How do you look at each one and decide how you're going to start? Like, where do they start?
I think that's where that emotional intelligence is super important that I think women have that some men don't. It's really about, I have the full spectrum currently as clients, very young ones where they're like a sponge and I educate them on,
Yeah.
look, right now you have time on your side. I don't, just bear with me and just trust me on what I'm telling you to do, right? But then you have the other spectrum, maybe somebody that's just recently divorced. There's still a lot of emotional pieces to it, grieving even.
Hmm.
In those situations, I find that a lot of women become kind of paralyzed to make decisions. And so it has to be very minor baby steps, almost creating like
Hmm.
a financial plan on phase one, two, three, etc. But really it's about what is your number one goal that you want to accomplish? Let's get that
Hmm.
out of the way. But then I am also going to look at maybe you haven't considered this angle or this angle. Like my job is really to look at the whole 360 of it and say, yes, this is important, but we also need to look at XYZ. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me what woman have you helped that you saw such a change that it touched your heart because her heart was so touched because she started out here, you took her to here to the success.
Oh gosh, that is a great question. Let me think, because there's been a few.
Yeah.
So the one that comes to mind is fairly recently. She was just came out of a divorce. She was actually referred to me. Our initial conversation was over the phone. She started crying.
Yeah.
She was in that moment. And I said, hey, I've been there. I know how it feels and it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. I told her, "Hey, why don't you send me your divorce decree? I just want to look it over." And she's like,
Mm,
"Okay, that's interesting." Because side note, most divorce attorneys, it's transactional. They're not going to give you advice. They're not
that's
going
right.
to say, "Hey, this is if you're looking at a settlement, what is the best option for you?" Because they don't really care. So
Right.
she sent me her divorce decree. I looked it over. I called her immediately and I said, "Okay, we have some things we need to work through here. And
Mm,
this was the draft, actually. She wasn't fully divorced. It was still like a draft decree.
mm.
So I was able to educate her on that. And I think she was at a point where she was just so exhausted. She was
Oh, of
drained with
course.
legal expenses. Her husband at the time was just kind of bullying her around, and she just was going to wave a white flag and say, "Hey, whatever, I just want this to be over." So we were able to actually modify the decree a little bit. She was able to ask things that were a little bit in her better interest, I should say. We were able
Mhm.
to get a life insurance policy on her husband, to make sure that child support was taken care of should anything
Oh, good.
happen. Long story short, now we joke, we'll go have margaritas once in a while. But she's just in a
Yay.
much better place. I mean, there's still a
Yeah.
rebuilding phase, right? Because
Right.
she had to sell the house, she had to start over, just like you said. But at least now I feel like she's more empowered and in control, and she knows
Oh,
what
good.
she's doing versus winging it.
Yes. I'm
So
sure
that
she
was
feels
probably
more secure.
yeah, absolutely. And even we'll joke. It's like, hey, if you're if you start dating or get serious, let me know because I want to make sure
Yeah.
that we're looking at everything the right way too.
Right, exactly, exactly. I've had
Hmm.
a few clients that I work with that are lawyers or different things that are, friends and stuff like that. And they're like, girl, let me show you how to protect your stuff, or whatever. So you let me know, and part of that feels so like, but in today's world, it's just something that's got to happen. What are the biggest mistakes that women make with money?
Oh my goodness. As women, we are genetically wired to be caretakers. And what I mean by that is we're
Hmm.
nurturers. We take care of either our spouses, our children, or sometimes even our parents, or maybe all three at the same time.
Right,
We usually don't take care of ourselves, and I mean that in physically, emotionally, mentally, and definitely financially.
right.
So what I see women do is they kinda kick the can down the road. They're like, "Hey, I'm gonna take care of my kids first. I'll figure myself out later." It's a very selfless thing in their
Hmm.
mind at the moment, but really you're doing yourself a disservice and saying, "Hey, I'll figure it out later," or, and then later never comes because we're all very busy. And I mean,
That's
I
right.
don't we all multitask. um,
Yeah.
Even when you're older, like my age, my oldest daughter, she's 22, she's in graduate school. My son's 14. So he's a freshman in high school. So he's still at home, but I don't have babies, but I still can find a way to procrastinate if I want to. So I would
Yes.
say that's the biggest piece. And in conjunction to that is not educating themselves.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, financial literacy isn't something that's readily taught. Even now, I think
No,
they
it's
do a
not.
poor job. And eventually you get to the point where you're too embarrassed to ask
Right.
questions. And you're almost
Right.
living in shame. Like, I don't want people to see my credit card debt. I don't want them to see because you keep thinking you're behind the curve already.
Right.
And then it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, and then there's those big things that we don't think will ever happen to us. Death, sickness and divorce. And like you say, taking care of aging parents and a marriage and children all at one time. There's a lot of things to focus on. So I definitely
Mhm,
believe that education, getting yourself in there. But boy,
mhm.
do I procrastinate about things I don't quite understand. You know,
Absolutely.
Money is a tougher one for me. I don't
Mhm.
quite understand it, so I shy away from it because it's either don't want to learn something new or I don't want to share all my stuff with everybody. I totally get those little fears that they come in there. So,
Mhm.
what is something called CFP, and why is that important?
So this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. It stands
Okay.
for Certified Financial Planner. It's like the gold standard in our industry. It took me almost 10 years to actually get it done because
Oh,
I'm a mom, working, etc. But this is a certification where you have to at least have a bachelor's degree. You have to have at least 6,000 hours of financial planning experience. You
wow,
have to do an education program that's typically about 9 months to a year. Then you have to take a 6-hour exam that's graded on a curve, not pass or fail. So that's super fun.
wow, yeah,
The
6 hours.
exam, the exam is, it has a lot of things, but think of it like investments, accounting, and estate. planning, like an attorney. There's a lot of
Mhm.
nuances to that. Then, after you do all of that, then you have to go through a background check. Then you have to
Mhm.
go through an ethics board, and then you finally get to say, I am a certified financial planner. And
Um,
every year you have to do a certain amount of continuing education to make sure that you stay on top of all the regulations, especially on the tax side.
okay.
It's a fiduciary responsibility. And you hear
Uh-huh.
that word a lot, but it's important, especially in this industry where, for example, if you were my client or with my clients, I must have your best interest in mind. Anything and everything I do. It doesn't matter what I'm
Wow.
selling you. It cannot benefit me. It has to be in your benefit. So I take it
Okay.
very seriously. I'm very proud to have that designation because I work my butt off for it.
Yeah,
And also,
you would
there's not a
have.
lot of women that have it. Actually, it's
Oh.
very there's more and more, but there's not a whole lot of women. Uh, so I really encourage anybody listening to this, if you're working with an advisor or you're looking for an advisor, that designation is definitely something to look into. Because,
Mhm.
for example, like if you file for bankruptcy, it's they might approve it, but it's one of those things like, well, do you want to work with someone that just doesn't know how to manage their own money? Kind of like when you're at a doctor's office and they're telling you you really need to lose weight, and the doctor themselves are a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit heavier.
Right.
It's kind of
As
the
they're
same
telling
thing.
you, "Stop smoking," as they're sitting there
Yes.
smoking. Yeah, exactly. Mm.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what it is. And I, ever since getting that certification, it's really just completely changed the way I see personal finance, the way I explain it.
Mhm.
And I mean, I could be at happy hour and I'll just talk to the person next to me. I'm like, hey, are you maxing out your 401k? I mean, because
Hmm.
it's really all I think about. Sometimes it's
Wow.
really annoying to my friends and family.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. They're like, "Oh, please, here she comes."
Mm-hmm.
No. So, people come in then, they you start the consultation and you go through it. Have you ever had someone that you're like, "I really don't feel like I can work with you," or "I'm too overloaded at this moment to take on another person"? How does that work for you when someone comes in?
Oh goodness, that happens quite a bit. Two things can happen. One is where I already know that they are going to go somewhere else. And what I mean by that is when I explain how I work with my clients, I also
Mhm,
manage not only what they can expect from me, but what I would
mhm.
like to expect from them. Meaning,
'Kay.
we have to at least meet on an annual basis. I want to
Mhm.
see your tax return. I want you to give me the information I need so that I can help you. And so
Yeah,
if there's resistance there, I'm pretty good at they're going to opt out. They're not
at
going to
this
want
point.
that. They're going to go somewhere else, right? And that's fine
Yeah.
because this is a relationship that requires a lot of mutual trust. So if it's not a good
Mhm,
fit, then it's not a good fit. There's been times when sometimes I'll say, "Hey, maybe I have another advisor that might be a better fit for you."
mhm.
In terms of if I'm too maxed out, I can't I'm still at that point where I just love what I do, and I haven't gotten to that point yet. I don't think I will. Like somebody asked me, "Well, when are you going to retire?" And I'm thinking, "Never." Like
Mm.
unless I have to, because this is so much fun for me. I don't. It's not a job for me. It doesn't burn me out. I thoroughly enjoy what I do.
That's wonderful. I'm the same. I've been a hairdresser for 34 years now, and I still love it every day when I go to work. I still love connecting with people. I still love making, their day and,
Mm,
creating something new with them. And it also becomes a personal relationship between them and I. And
mhm.
exactly, the more I know about them, the better, I can help them. So let's talk
Absolutely.
about cost. Does it cost for you to do these things? If I come in and say, here's my stuff, I want you to help me. What are the costs?
Great question. So, depending on your situation and the complexity that you have, there's not one size fits all. So I'm not going to tell you, hey, I
Okay.
charge $500 an hour. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Usually, it depends on how much help do you need. Is it very complicated? Do we need to talk every quarter, or what are we looking at? We look at
Hmm.
also the dollar amount because the more money you have, obviously, the more needs that you have. So
Yeah.
it could be as little as literally transactional, like,
Okay.
you know, what would traditionally be called a brokerage account, meaning anytime you buy and sell, you pay a commission. So
Hmm.
it's more DIY. In these, I'm sure you've heard of like Robinhood or Fidelity, where people can go in there and trade.
Right.
Very similar to that. I don't do that a whole lot because I have found that my clients really value my advice more than the
Hmm.
actual investments themselves. So then it goes into a relationship where it's like on a monthly fee for an advisory kind of role where it's
Okay.
professionally managed. Think of it almost like a Netflix subscription. So you pay monthly, and it's a percentage. So if the market
Hmm.
does well, then we both benefit. If the market goes down, then we're both, not happy about it either. So again, it puts us on the
Right.
same side of the table. And that comes with an annual review. You can call me or email me and say, hey, I have this going on. So it's almost like having an advisor, on 24/7, basically. So
Hmm.
there's that. And then for more complex situations, for example, when you're having like an inheritance, you're a business owner, you have a very high net worth where you're looking at estate taxes and all these other things, then that is where we go into more complex financial planning. And that's about a $3,200 fee a year. But
Hmm.
again, that's for someone that, you know, we will figure out what makes the most sense. A lot of the times, like my younger clients, it's
Hmm.
kind of we're still in the business building and accumulation phase. Sorry,
Yeah.
I messed that up. Versus people that are nearing retirement. Then we need to start looking at tax diversification and estate planning and all that good stuff. So it's really what is needed from the client. And again, going back to that
Hmm.
fiduciary word, it's about what's in their best interest.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
hopefully that
makes a lot of
answers your
sense.
question.
It does. So it's more than just here's my money, stick it somewhere. You again, it's that personal connection. Let me help you. And I like that. Let's talk about these classes again that you offer. I
Yeah.
know some of these are in person, in
Mhm.
town or here and there. Do you also offer classes online or is it just in person? And what are the classes that you offer?
So this year, as part of my vision board, because I'm a big proponent of a vision board, is I wanted to have at least some educational class at least once a month,
Hmm.
mainly to help people in the community. But I also, it fills my bucket. Like I just get re energized by doing things like that.
Yeah.
So this year, it's kind of, they've all been in person, but now I'm starting to think of maybe incorporating like an online
Hmm.
option in case people can't make it or whatnot. The last one was on taxes because we are in
Yeah.
tax season and a lot of people have questions on why do I owe money or how can I save in a more tax efficient manner. So that was that. Before that, we talked about retirement planning. What is a 401k? What is a SEP IRA? What's a Roth option? What should
Hmm.
I be doing? Like a lot of times, women are like, okay, what's the priority list? Like, where should my money go
Hmm.
first? If I have extra money, should it go into an HSA? Should it go into a Roth? Should it go into a 401k? So, just really educating people on what different account options there are.
Right.
Like, I've gotten the question so many times where it's like, well, what account's going to give me the most return? And so it's like, well, they're all going to give you the same return. It just depends on what investment type. And meaning, is it a IRA? Is it a brokerage account? Like, there's so many things there to consider.
Hmm.
And in doing this, something that I have known, but it's been reiterated, is a lot of people are listening to financial advice on social media, meaning TikTok,
Yes.
Instagram. So these classes have really helped say, well, I heard you should do XYZ. And I'm like, well, maybe your neighbor, but not you, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so to circle back, I have pretty much everything kind of ironed out for the rest of the year. I have a class on long-term care. We're doing an estate planning session. We're doing a disability session. Social Security is another one that we just put together. So there's several topics out there, like
Hmm.
college savings, another one that I'm probably going to do in September. All of them are on my website right now, and I'm adding more to them as the year goes on.
Okay. And so I was going to ask you about that. How can someone contact you? So tell us, because some people just listen to this in the car going down the road. So give us that information of how we can contact you.
Absolutely. So if you Google my name, Jocelyn Cates, I'm with Edward Jones. So you'll see my website on there. It'll have my email, my phone number, and also the calendar of events that are coming up. It also gives you a link if you wanted to have a complimentary session, you can book it that way. And so that's really the best way is to go on my website through Edward Jones and just put in Jocelyn Cates.
Okay, and we'll probably put that in the description also, so that people can go back there, and find it. Jocelyn, I think we could probably talk forever, but I have thoroughly loved all the information. And you know, do you help other people that don't even live here? Or so let's talk about
Absolutely.
somebody in an okay, or somebody in another
Mhm,
state. How they can
mhm.
find you. Okay,
Yes, I
I
can.
like that.
I'm open to all 50 states. I can do Zoom sessions, phone calls, whatever is best. Won't turn anyone away because you live in Alaska.
Okay. I like that. I like that you can, yeah, venture out, to
Mhm,
all of that. Anyway, I just want to thank you for being on here, Ponytails and Pep Talks. I appreciate it. I know we had to get permission, even to make sure that you could come on
mhm,
here. So I appreciate Edward Jones also for giving that permission for you to speak to us. I want to tell, all the women out there, don't be afraid. Don't, be afraid. Just if you start somewhere, don't go another 5 years down the road wishing that you had started now. So start
mhm.
now with the financial things because you never know what's going to happen in 5 years. So thank everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
thank you. I appreciate you. And listeners, thank you. And we'll see you guys next week. And get a hold of Jocelyn, see what she can do for you. Bye bye.